Okay, so we start with an empty project, which we have only the body here. And for the body, what we do, we go first of all, change the font to System UI. If you have another font here, System UI, and then the background color should be black because everything here is black in the back. So the background is black. And after that, we see we have this nav bar here. So we add a section here. And this is the section that holds everything in the top here, this one. So for that one, we call it nav. And what setting we have for the nav? First of all, we give it width of 100%, a height of 44 pixel, and a maximum height of 44 pixel. And then we have position relative and the background color of black. And now let's see what we give, and let's try to understand. So the width is 100. What does it mean to give 100%? So 100% means that it is going to take 100% width of its parent, and the parent is in this case a body, and it means that the entire width that we have, if it's a phone or laptop or anything. And the height, we give it 44 pixel. And after 44 pixel, we give maximum height of 44 pixels. Maximum height means that it's not going to be bigger than 44 pixels. Even if we have more space in the height, it will not be more than 44 pixel. And position relative. Why we give it position relative? We give it position relative because we are going to give it z index. If we give position static, then the z index is whatever. It's like the 0 or 1. So if you give it position relative, now we can add z index, and give it more z index means that it's always going to be in the front. Even if, for example, this AirPods come, you see the AirPod is behind, it cannot come on the top. So in this case, the index would be higher. That's why we give it position relative. So now let's see what we have inside that section. So inside that section, we have a container which holds all of this one in the middle of the screen, not on the left or the right. So in that case, we are going to add a div block. And that div block, we call it container. And what setting in fact has the container? First of all, we give it maximum width of 980 pixel. So it means that the width is not going to be bigger than 980 pixel, even if the width is much more than that. You see in the screen, we have this extra place, which means that our width is right now is 1396 pixel, but the container will not allow itself to be bigger than 980. And once we have width specified, if we have an element that has a width, and if we give margin outer, then the both side is going to work like a spring. You see, the both side work like a spring, and the element stays in the middle. And what more? Okay, nothing else. Now it's in the center like this one as we expected. Then inside of that we have, okay, let's see what we have here again. So we have these elements here, and they are horizontally, and the distance between them all equal. So in this case, we use Flexbox. So in order to use Flexbox, we add another div here to the container, and we call this one Nav Menu. And for Nav Menu, we give display Flexbox horizontal, align in the center, justify space between, and padding on the both side is going to be 12 pixel and 12 pixel, and a height of 44 pixel and a maximum height of again 34 pixel and nothing else. So let's see what we give here. Why we give it display flags box? We give display flags box in order to put all the element horizontally. It doesn't matter if the element is block or inline or anything, it just be horizontal, and space in between all of them will be equally spaced, like this one here. So now inside we have these elements which are nav link. So we go and put a nav link inside this nav menu, and we call this nav link basically nav link. And what setting we have for the nav link? For the nav link, we go and give a padding on the both sides of 10 pixel and 10 pixel, and a height of 44 pixel. We don't want it to be bigger than 44 because the parent is 44, remember. And for the fonts, it's the same UI. The size is going to be 14, the line height is 20. We change the color to white, and text decoration of no text decoration and nothing else, but it stays on the top. How to put it in the bottom? We give it display flags box, and now it's stretch. If we give it align center, it's going to be in the center, and also horizontally we want it to be in the center even though it was in the center. So now we take this one, Control C, and now we see how many we have. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we take it, Control C, and we press Control V 10 times. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. The first one, the second one we say Mac, and then we have iPad, iPhone, iPad, iPhone, watch, TV, watch, TV, music and support. Music and support. And for the other three we have logos. So how we can do that one? So this is like a div block, as you can see. Sorry, not like a div block. This is an inlined element. So what we do, we just take out the text and instead we put it a background image. And for that background image, we need to add a combo clause, because if you don't add combo clause, and for example, if I give a background, and now you see all of them will change because they all have the same clause. So Control Z to go back. In here for this one, I add a class of logo and I give it a background image, and I select this image here, and we put the height. We give it 16 pixel height, and we give a 44 pixel height. So we give it 16 pixel width, because I knew that the width of this logo was the width of the logo, or this apple.logo SVG, as you see it's 16 pixels. So we don't want to give it more width. If we give more, then it's going to be stretched and looks not good. For example, if I give it 24 pixel, then no. So we're going to give it 16 pixel, and the height is going to be as the height of the parent. We don't want to give it less or more, because if you give it less, then it's, you see, just repeating and try to fill all of that area. We give it 44 pixel, then we position it to be in the center, but we see that it's repeating itself. So we say tile no. So this one finished. Then we go to text link, and we also give a combo class of logo 1. And for this one also, background color, we choose this one. And actually text should be delete. And now we give a width of 14 pixel and height of 44 pixel, and center and no repeat. Again, the width was 14, so that's why we give it 14. The width of the image, the back.svg. So let's go delete this one and Control Z, Control V this one. So now we have all of them here. And you can see that this part finished, the nav menu finished. This section, let's close it. So the nav menu finished here. And we have another one in here. There's AirPods Pro and all of these links. So this is another section here. So let's add another section. This section we're going to call it Airpods Nav. We're going to call it Airpods Nav. And for that one, we're going to have a width of 100%. So 100% means that it's going to have the 100% of its parent, which is the body, full width, a height of 52 pixel, and a position of sticky. Position of sticky to the top, which is 0. And as index of big, because we want it to be in the front. And we also have a border here in the bottom, so we'll go back to the border. We give border bottom of solid style 1 pixel, and the color not fully absolutely black, but we give it a little bit white, kind of gray. So this part finished here. And let's see why we give it position is sticky. So if you know position is sticky, just it stays at what value we give. So it will stay always in the top of 0. For example, even when we scroll, you see, it's always stick to the top, which is 0. So that's why we're going to give it position top of 0. Even when we scroll, you see, it's not getting out and going to the top, it just stays. So that's why we give it a sticky position and top of 0. And inside of that, we have again the container which holds them in the middle. So let's add the container of div and call it container. And we can see that the container height is much bigger than the AirPods. So but it's fine. And inside the container, we give another div block. And why we give this div block? Because we can see this is on the left, this is on the side. So basically using Flexbox. And for this iPhone div, we give it display Flexbox, align vertically in the center, but horizontally we want them to be space between all the elements. Again, padding of 12 pixel on the left, 12 pixel on the right. Why? Because the top also have 12 pixel, and we want to align it exactly on the same position, the elements. So But wait a second, we did not give it a name. Let's name it iPhone Nav Content. So after give it 12 pixel, and now we give the height of its parent. The parent had 52 pixel height, the grandpa, the AirPod Nav. So the color of the text, is going to be white, and no background color, and nothing more and nothing less. And inside of this we have two elements, this one and this one. So for this one we use a nav link, a text link, and we call this one iPhone Nav title, sorry, iPhone Nav title. And the setting on this one is we are changing only the font. So the font is System UI, the weight is 600, the color we change it to white, and the size is 21 pixel, and the line height is again 20 pixel. Why it's not? Yeah, 21 pixel. And the decoration is no text decoration, which means no underline. And we said it, and we should write AirPods Pro. Say AirPods Pro. So this one done. And on the other side we have another div, and that div holds 3 elements, 2 links and 1 button. So for that we go and give another div block inside this iPhone Nav content, and we call that div iPhone Nav Menu. iPhone Nav Menu. And the iPhone Nav Menu is just a section holder, a div holder, which holds the value inside it. And inside we have link. We have 2 link. So the setting for the nav, the link is the margin on the left is 24 pixel, not 34. We give it 24 pixel, and the font is going to be 12 pixel. The color is white, no text decoration, and finished. So why the color is still not white? The color white, yes. And again, Control Z, Control V, because we have 2. We have overview and text spaces. So we say this one and this one. And after that we have a button. For the button we say by, the class is by button, the class name is by button, and the setting is for the padding top and bottom we say 4 pixel, 4 pixel, and for the padding left and right is 11 pixel. Margin on the left is 24 pixel. So we are done with this one. For this next section, which is this one. So these 2 are finished now. Okay, so these were the easy part, which I'm sure most of the people can do it by themselves. This one and this one. And the button has a rounded edge, so we select the button and we give a radius of 12 pixel, a radius of 12 pixel. Okay, down here. So now is the hardest part, to understand the animation. So how we're going to understand this animation? So basically there's two things to understand at first: the background and the foreground. You see this AirPods, this is the foreground and the animation is in the background. So it is here. This is the foreground and the background, the foreground and the background, the foreground and the background. So you understand this one, right? This is the background and this is the foreground. And again, the background, this is the background. This is not any image or any video playing in the front with the same z-index as this one, or in the same document position as this one. So again, understand that these texts are in the foreground and the animation is in the background, and all the way down here, the background and the foreground. Okay, after we understand the foreground and the background idea, what's next is that all of these text, this one, and also this one, and also this one, everything you see in the foreground, they don't have any connection to the background. So what I mean by it is that you see this nav and this other nav, they know that they exist to the side of each other. They're like siblings. For example, if you give this one a margin top, you see it also pushes the other one. Or if you give it a padding more, you see it also pushes the other one. So if we do something to one, it will affect the other one. But in here, it's not in the case. You see, these things are moving, but the background stays as it is. So you should understand that they should not have any connection to each other. And if we affect one, the other one will not have any effect. So which means that one will not intervene the other one. So how we can do that? We can do that by giving them a position of absolute. When we give position absolute, then it takes this one out of this document here. It take it out. So whatever we add to the document, whatever we change in the document, it will not have any effect on the elements that has a position of absolute. For example, if I give this one position absolute, you see this one just move in the back of that one. If I give position, for example, down here, even I can put it behind or in the front of this other one. And now if I add another div block, cancel. If I give another div block here and I give that div block to be 100 viewport height and a background color of red. And now you can see, if I give this one a margin, you see it's push everything down and it's coming here if I give it back to 0. But if, in the other hand, this one, if I give it a margin top and bottom, you see it does not affect this red background. But if I give this red a position of static, you see now it's pushing it down, pushing the red one down. Even if I give it padding, it also pushed the red down. Okay, Control Z, and Control Z. Okay, now you can see this one. If the red one has a position of absolute, whatever I do to this one, whatever I do, it will not have any effect on the document. It only position itself on the view and does not affect any document element here. So let's delete this one and put this one back to where it was, up 0, and also padding of 0 and margin of 0. No, it was not the margin of 0. Airpods Nav is going to have here, but the position is static. Okay, now we are back. So you understand the idea of the background and the foreground, and also the idea of positioning absolute. So all of these elements in the background are position absolute, which they don't intervene with anything we add here. They don't intervene with the text, so they are just in the background having position absolute. And now let's see how to do it. And another thing to understand before that is to understand the trigger and the animation. Okay, I show you the trigger and the animation here. Okay, I made this one. So this is a div block here, and this div block is this Liberty animation trigger. And if I change the color, you see, black, white, or red. Okay, go back. So this is a div. Basically, this one has a height of 400 viewport height, and this is the trigger. If we scroll, the animation is going to play. How is going to play? It starts when the top is here and at the 0. So when it comes in the view, you see, when we scroll, the animation plays, and while scrolling, the animation plays. And here the animation change. Why? Because that first red color was the trigger for this animation, and when it goes out of the view, then the animation is going to finish. And when the blue come to the view here, when the blue come to the top, when it's fully viewed, then the second animation is going to play. And as we scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll, this one play until the blue trigger, which is that trigger is for this animation. When it come and when it goes out of the view, the second animation is finished, and when the green reaches the top, the third animation going to play and it's going to play until the fourth trigger is coming. So the third trigger is finished, then the third animation is finished. And when the fourth trigger is fully viewed, then the fourth animation is going to play. Okay, I hope you understand the trigger and the animation. And another thing is that we should know all this height. You see, from the beginning of the scrolling to the end of the website, we should know the height. Because if you don't know the height, then we cannot scroll, and we don't know how much width we should give to these triggers. So the parent div, which holds all of the animation, it should have the entire height of the website, the one that is holding all of these animation. Why the entire website? Because as we scroll, we should give the width we want to this trigger, and we just scroll and the animation keep playing. So I hope you understand this part, and we will come back to it here in this one. So first of all, let's make the background. Let's first build the background. And the background is this animation as it's playing. This one and all the other one here. These are all the backgrounds. So let's go. And for that one, we're going to add a section, and we call that section scroll sequence. So the section is called scroll sequence. And we give it a margin top of 150 pixel, 150 pixel, a width of 100%, and a height. So now we give a height, because this is the one that is going to keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. And depending on that scroll, we animate. And this should have the entire height of the website. And I'll come and explain to you again. So for now, we give it, for example, just 2000 viewport height. And now you see, we can scroll all the way down to the bottom of the website here, and we can take it and come back to the beginning of the website. So if I give this one 100 viewport height here, for example, 100 viewport height, then now it's just 100. And I will come back and change this one again, but for now we put it 100 viewport height. And then what we are going to do, as I told you, these animations should not intervene with the element we put in the document. So what we do for that case, we give it position absolute. So this scroll sequence is going to have position absolute. And the top position is 0, which means it will just come and be here and the 0. The top position is 0. And what next? Inside of that, we have a container. Inside this scroll sequence, we're going to have another div block, and we call this div block sequence container. And we give it 100% width, 100% height, which means whatever the parent has width and height, this also going to have width and height. And for the sequence container, we also give the position absolute and the top to be 0. And inside this, we have the image sequence. We give another div, and that div is going to hold the image sequences. And also let me explain something else to you. When we scroll up, at some point you can see in here the image, the background image or the background animation can be scrolled and going up. But when we reach here, as we scroll, it just stays here. It is not going up or down, even if you scroll up and down. This one moves, but the background doesn't move, which means we should use a sticky position. But that sticky position should have 100% viewport height and also the 100% width. Because when you scroll, when that element touches the top 0, then it just stays there. And inside of this, we have the animation, and we center it at the center. We position it at the center. So now you understand what I mean. This image sequence is going to have, first of all, overflow to hidden, because we don't want it to be overflow. And because if the animation gets bigger or smaller, we don't want the this to get overflow and be seen. So here we give the position sticky and top to be 0, which means as we scroll and it goes up, then it just stays there. For example, this one, this div, if you can see this one, this blue one, as we scroll up, then it just stays here on the top, even if we keep scrolling and scrolling. And inside this image sequence, we put another container, and this div is called Loti container. And this Loti container is going to take all the Loti animations inside it. But first of all, if we can see, all of these animations are at the center of the view. So we give this Loti container display flags box, horizontal, and we give align center and also justify center. We give it a padding top of 52 pixel, which we don't want it to be as we scroll. We don't want it to be here. We just push it down a little bit. 52 pixel, and we give this Lottie container a width of 100 and a height of 100 viewport height. So 100 viewport height, which means that it takes the entire view of the screen. And we give it position relative. Why we give position relative? Because inside the div, this animation going to have position absolute. Okay, we have the Lottie container here, and we almost finished here. And inside of this, we are going to add this animation. So the first, first of all, I have to upload all of those. Okay, these are the JSON files, the Lottie animations. So let's go and upload it. The first animation is this one, this AirPod. So we put it inside, and if we preview, okay, that one, we render to canvas, which is render it easily without any stopping or something, just something like that. And we give a width of 100, whatever the parent has, but we don't want it to be so big and overstretched. So the maximum width is going to be 1458 pixel. That is the maximum width it can have, not bigger than that. After that, we want to position it in the center. So we give spacing, the margin auto. Now the point comes that we give it position absolute. But before that, let's add the other one, the Lottie animation, the second Lottie animation, and the second one is this head.json file. Here, we put it here, and if we preview, this is here. We set canvas, and we give it a width of 1458, and the margin going to be auto, which center it in the middle. But let's see what problem we have now. In here, they are, after this one finished, the other one will begin. But in our case, they are side by side. Why side by side? Because we give it position, the display flags box, and we set it to horizontal. It doesn't matter if you give horizontal or vertical. We just want it to be center, align, and justify center. If we come back to here, now you see what I mean. This animation was here. When we put the animation 2, it affects the first animation and put it to the left. But we don't want that effect. We just want it to be out of the document here. So for that case, we give it position absolute. So now you understand why we give position absolute. Now I give this one position, where is the position? I give it the position absolute, and now it's here. And whereas the other one, it just gone. So we give position absolute to this one, and with a z index of 11. So what does it mean giving z index of 11? We give it z index of 11 because we want it to be in the front, like a layer. If we have this one, again, position absolute to take it out of this flow of the document, and we give it this one, the z index of 12, even though it is after this first animation. But if we preview it, now you see it's here, and the first animation is gone. Why it's gone? Because now this one has a higher z index and it's in the front. So, but if we give it z index of 10, and now we preview it, we cannot see because it's in the background. And when we put all of them here and we give them position absolute, so basically they are in the same position but at the top of each other like a layer. So we have the first here, then in the back of it we have another one, in the back of it we have another one. As we keep adding here and giving them position absolute with the value of auto, so they are in the same position. For example, the first one is this headphone, and at the back of this one we have the other animation. Because we have position absolute, so it's in the same position but behind of this first animation because we give it the index of 10. So after you understand this one, and let's go and add all of the animation. And the third animation is this one. So flip.json. We go and add the third one. So now basically you understand. I'm not going to explain. I just give them width of 1458 pixel and a margin of auto and position of absolute. Now you know why we give position absolute. No need to explain. The index of 9, you also know why. It's time to add the other one, the fourth animation. And the fourth animation is this one. This explode. So we add this fourth animation here. And if we preview, it's this one. And set it to canvas, a width of 1458 pixel, margin of auto, positioning it absolute, the index of 8. Let's go to the next one, to the fifth one. And which one is the fifth one? If we go here, the fifth one is which one is the fifth one? Not this one. I think this one is the fifth one. This one is the fifth one. Rendered canvas. Like every other one, width of 1458 pixel, margin of auto, position absolute, and the last one had the index of 8. This one has the index of 7, and the sixth one. And we take the last one, and the last one is this one, the transparency. Yeah, this is the last one. For the last one, again, render canvas. The last one is going to have a width of 100%, takes the entire width. And no margin auto because it takes the full width, but position absolute and 6. And they are all relative to this one. That's why the low-tick antenna has position relative, because we're positioning all of these relatively to the low-tick antenna, which takes the entire view. So now you understand why we give position relative, why we give position absolute, and why we give position sticky to stick it at the top. So if we go back to the scroll sequence, I told you that I'm going to change the height. In here, height is 100 viewport height, which it's not good. Why? Because as we scroll, we only have this one. But if we give it, for example, 2000s, now we have more space to scroll. You see? Let me show you what I mean. if I add another div block here, and I give that div block a height of, for example, 300, or let's say 500 viewport height, and I give it a background color of red, 500 viewport height. So now you can understand what I mean. This div block has 500 viewport height, and this scroll sequence has, for example, 200 viewport height. And now as we scroll, you see, even though we put the position of one of the div here is sticky to stick in the top, but as we scroll, it doesn't stick. It only sticks to the top as long as it has 200 viewport height. This is scroll sequence. And as we scroll up and up and up and up and up and up, as long as this 200 viewport height is finished, then the sticky will not work. That is how the sticky work. The sticky work as long as the height is out of the view. But the moment this scroll sequence, you see, the scroll sequence, the moment it reaches its bottom is out of the view, you see, as long as it's going up, then the sticky will not work. It just go up. But if we here, the other div block has 500, so the entire website right now is 500, but the animation, the background is going out of the view. We don't want that. So in that case, we should give the height of 500. So in that case, no matter how much I going to scroll, the animation always stays sticky. That is how sticky works. So if you don't understand, just go research about sticky position, absolute position, relative position. So I delete this one again. So now for just for a second, I give it 2000 viewport height because I know the website is going to be much more than 2000. So as we scroll, all of these animation just stay in the place. So let's go back up and here. So now all of the background is done. All of the background is done. The only thing that is left is, so now we put all of the foreground. And as we put the foreground just feels like nothing exists here. And why this AirPod Nav is not, should be positioned sticky to the top. Yeah, we also want that one to be on the top. So okay, and now is the time to add all of these front ground, not the background. The background is finished. And how this animation works, I showed you there that it has a trigger, and depending on that trigger, the animation starts and the animation ends. So let's add those trigger and also add the foreground. So the first one is this AirPods Pro and the watch film. So basically this is a div and this is inside the headline and the paragraph. And now I'll show you how we are going to do that. So first what we do, we add another div block. And now when we add this div block just, whatever we do to this one, it only affects the AirPod Nav and Nav. This scroll sequence, because it has position absolute, is really out of the flow of the document. And we give this one a name of hero text. This hero text has a padding bottom of 200, a width of 100, nothing else. Inside this hero, this hero, we don't give it any padding because we don't need padding, and also no width. We just give it position relative. Position relative. We give it position relative because inside we have some element that needs to have position absolute. And inside of this hero section, we give another div and we call it text container. This is the one that has the text container, and we give this div display flags box because, as you see, this AirPod is kind of in the center of the view. So we have a big div here which takes the entire view, and inside we have these two, and as we scroll, that div just go up. Okay, for putting the element in the center, we give it display flags box, direction vertical, so all the elements is going to be vertical, align center, and justify also center. So we have this text container is this all the view, and we have one element, so the direction is vertical in the second element, just like that, and we give a margin of auto, a maximum width of 980 pixels. We don't want it to be bigger than 980 as the same as the other container, but we give it a height of 100 viewport height, which takes the full view. Like here we have the full view, but inside we have this one. After that, we give it overflow to hidden if anything overflows inside it. Inside of that one, we have one div, and that div block is the one that holds the headline and the paragraph. We call this one hero text. We call it hero text. Inside this hero text, we have one headline and one paragraph. Basically, this one is not hero text. We should rename it to just hero. We call this one hero. Yeah. And inside, let's take out this one and make another one hero text. For the hero text, we give a margin, a padding bottom of 200, a width of 100%, and then we put the headline, the heading inside, and we call this one hero headline. What we change in this hero headline, we only change the size, which the size is going to be 150 pixel, the color to be white, and the line height is 0.667, but not pixel. Align it to the center. A letter spacing of minus 0.15 pixel. And then we have the paragraph. We give this paragraph here, and we call this paragraph watch the film. This paragraph is going to have a margin top of 50 pixel, which push it down a little bit, and we write watch the film, and this heading is AirPods Pro. AirPods Pro. This watch film going to have the style of the size is 22. It's not normal. The weight is 700, which is bold. The line height is 1.17. The align is in the center, and the color is white. And then also this AirPods Pro has 700 volts. So we are finished from this one. So now this exactly looks like it's going up, which is here. It's going up now. As it's going up, the entire div, this text container, because it has 100 viewport height, so as we scroll, it just go up. And then we have this one, this active noise cancellation, and then this one, and then this one, and then this one, and then finished. So in order to explain this part of the animation where this goes up, so we have done that much, it goes up. And in order to explain all of these, I again go to the example that I made here. I go to duplicate. I go back. Okay, waiting for this to reload. Okay. And now I open this example. So let's wait, it's opening. Okay. Based on this trigger, which this trigger is this load animation to trigger. So based on this trigger, as we scroll, we have percentage top when it start is 0%, when we scroll 10%, 20%, 30, 40, 50, 80, 90. And when the 90 is here, when it goes up, it means 100. It means start at the beginning of is 0 and at the end is 100. So it means that from the 0 to the 100, basically this animation is going to play as we scroll. Same goes here. From the 0 of the trigger of whatever element we put as a trigger, from the 0 part, this headphone is animated until the 100, which basically the opacity going to 0 and it's finished. And also based on that trigger, that we are going to put the trigger on the hero. Based on that trigger, also you can see that these texts are animated. Is animated depending on the position and the opacity. So when they are animated actually at which percentage? So we should understand again something else here. So here from 0 to 100, also only this one is animated, but in here, for example, from 20 to 40, for example, from 0 to 20, this headphone is animated, you see? Just example, and let's say from 20 to 40 of that, this text is animated, then 40 to 60, this is animated, 60 to 80, this is animated, and 80 to 100, this is animated, and then finish. So you will understand what I mean when we do it practically here. So this is just behind, just a theory how to understand how this one works. For example, if we have a text here, so from animation of 20 to 40, we animate that, and 40 to 80, another text, and 80 to 60, another text as we animate. But in here, we only have from 0 to 100, just this simple animation. And also in here. So basically, we have here After this text container, which have a width of 100, we give another div, and that div we call it hero scroll container. This is container. This is the one that holds all of those text, this one and this one. And we give it a height of, now how to give height to this one? So this one should have a very big height. For example, the height starts from here, and this is as we scroll down. The height finishes here. As it goes up, this text is going up. The height is finished. But how to give it a height? So let's again find out how to give a height. The height depends on what you give, and after we have that height, then that height becomes the trigger as we animate. So if for 20%, for example, we animate this one, then 40, then 60, then 80, and finish. So we can give a height of 400, and every 20% is going to be 100 viewport height. So we give this one 500 viewport height. Again, if we go here, now the text container is 100, the hero scroll is 500, so total is 600. So based on that 600 viewport height, we animate, for example, from 0 to 200, we animate here, and from 200 viewport height to 300, we animate this. From 300 viewport height to 400, we animate this. Then from 400 to 500, this. And from 500 to 600, it's going to finish. We animate this text, and then it goes out of the view, and the bottom of the div just going up out of the browser, and then the other section is started. So now I hope you understand everything. So now let's go and do how this one we can do it. So the hero scroll container has a height of 500, and we give it position relative, and you will find out soon why we give position relative, because the element and the child inside is going to have position absolute, and we want them to position it relatively to the parent, to this hero container. Inside this hero container, we give another div block, and this div block is going to have a display of flex box, direction vertical, center, spacing. We give a maximum width of 980 pixels. We don't want it to be bigger than that. And spacing auto to be exactly in the center. And we give a height of 100 viewport height. And now the point is that we give, you see, as we scroll, this div block 3, which we are going to name it soon, is going up. And as we scroll down, it's just going out of the view. But we don't want that. How we can prevent it? By giving this position sticky and top 0. After we give it position sticky, now as we scroll, it just stick to the bottom. As we scroll down, it just in here. And inside this, we have these texts that it just come to the view and go out. And how we are going to do that, you will find it out very soon. We come back here and let's change the name of this one to sticky container. And inside this sticky container, we have a hero. We have another div. And this div has a name of hero bullet points. We give it a width of 100% of the parent. Margin auto to center it. And what do we have next? Not so much. Inside this hero div, we have a paragraph. Inside we have this paragraph. Okay, which paragraph we have? The first paragraph here is active noise cancellation for immersive sound. For the paragraph, we have a setting of the weight is going to be 700, the color going to be white, the size is going to be 64, and the height is 1.07, but not pixel. Align, we align it in the center. Okay, this one finished, and we have this text inside this hero bullet points. And how many of this one we have? We have almost 4 of them. We take this one and Control Z and Control V, the second, the third, and the fourth. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. The second paragraph is, okay, let me write it down. What is the second paragraph? The second paragraph here. This is the first paragraph, second, third, and fourth. And let me write it down. The first one, and now let me write it down, the second one, finished. So the parent div is sticky here, sticky container, and you just stick it to the top until the 600, which is the height. The total height of the hero is now 600, and until that one is going to the end, the sticky container just stick as we scroll down. And next we have these hero bullet points, which we have basically how many? Which we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. We have 4 of those bullet points. And if we have all of this like this, it would be very hard to animate. So how we can make it easy for us to animate all to the same way? So it just come to the view and finish. So for that one, I don't know how to explain to you, but you will understand it very soon. So hero bullet points, we give them position absolute. But before that, every single one of them has their combo clause. Because depending on the animation, we have to change their position. So that's why we give them combo clause. This one, combo clause 1. The second one is going to have combo clause 2. And the third one is going to have combo clause of 3. And also the fourth one is going to have combo clause of 4. And every single one of them has position absolute. You see, when you give them position absolute, it's just in the center as this one. And depending on their position, we animate up and down and also animate the opacity. So let's go and give all of them position absolute, and also this one position absolute, and also the last one position absolute. So now they are all one on the top of each other. The first one, then the second one is behind it, then the third one is also behind it, the fourth one also behind it. So now let's go, because it just looks so messy. Make the opacity of every single one of them to 0. It's like we cannot see them. Now the opacity of all of them 0. And now it's the point to animate. So now you understand everything I explained to you. I hope you understand. And now it's time to go and animate. So now the hero has a total height of 600. Why? Because the first child of that is 100 and the second one is 500. So the height of the parent is the same. If we don't specify here, we put it auto, then means that the total height of the parent means the total height of the children means the total height of the parent. And how we animate, we go here to interaction, we put an element trigger. So now this height of this one is the trigger. While scroll in view, we make a new animation, but before that we put the animation boundaries. It's fully visible, it's fully visible. And we make the smoothing to 70, the animation to be very smooth. Scroll animation, we make a new one, and we call this animation, the first animation, we call it the hero animation. We call this one hero animation. And let's see here. So as we scroll here, so it's just going like this. So as I told you, from 0 to 20, then 20 to 40, 40 to 60, 60 to 80, 80 to 100. And now let's see how we can do it here. This is the trigger. And now we select which one, based on the trigger, what we are going to animate, we choose that one. So exactly at 0, we select this Lottie animation 1. At 0, and we come to the Lottie, and at 0, we give the 0 frame, which starts at 0. And let's see, if I give it, for example, at 100, if I give the Lottie animation to be at 93, and now if I go to the live preview, now you understand. As the hero is the trigger, as we animate, you see the animation is going to happen from 0 to 100. We render this one as SVG, and then now it's more sharp and good resolution. I put it back to canvas. Okay, now it's good. So from 0 to 100 height of the hero, as we scroll, the animation goes from 0 to 100. But now we don't want it to finish at 100. We want it to be, for example, at 20, but we select 70 as be precise. Then for the total height of the hero, from 0 to 17%, the animation goes from 0 to almost 100, which we put it here 93. And after that, from 70, as it's finished, then here, then what happened is this text is going to be animated. So how are we going to do that? Now let's go and find that text, which is this one. And from 20 to 40. For example, I told you I will go from 20 and we're going to select the move. And at the beginning, we move it down. We move it down 40, and also opacity is going to be 0 at the beginning. And from 20 all the way to 40, back, we again put the move and then the opacity. So the move is going to be back to up, not 0. We put it up 40 up from the 0 position. And the opacity is going to be, for example, if you put 100 and I go live preview. Now you see at 0 is from the bottom position. It goes up, and to 40 the opacity reached to 100, but we don't do it that way. And here it works different. In here the opacity is 0, then at the middle the opacity is 100, and as we go up it stays 100 to some point, and then the 100 goes back to 0. So how we can do it here? So at the beginning is 0, then opacity again at the end also goes to 0, but in between it stays 100 at some point. And every 10%, let's go and give it from 20 to 25. The opacity goes to 100, and between 25 and almost 34, and at 35 we give the opacity again 100. Now if we go live preview, from 20 to 25 it goes up, opacity reaches 100. From 25 to 35 opacity stays 100, and from 35 to 40 opacity go back to 0, and it also goes up. So at the beginning, when we give it position absolute, it just stays in this position, and using this animation we animate it up and down, and also opacity 0 to 100. And now from 40 to 60 we animate this, from 60 to 80 we animate this, and from 80 to 100 we animate the other one. So how we're going to achieve that one? Let's see. So all the animation is going to be same, and from this one all the way to here we just click and we duplicate, and after duplication we bring all of them here at 40. So at the beginning they are fine, and the last one, which is here from 20 to 40, the last one we copy it again, but before that one, okay, all of them that are being copied, we must change the target. Change the target to the second one. Okay, now change target. So at the beginning we are 40, and then the opacity is also 0. So we select this two and we bring it to 60. Here at 60. So I will explain this again soon to you, because here it gets a little bit complicated. Just bear with me. Okay, 40. This one is going to be at 55 and no, at 45 and 55. So this opacity going to be at 45, and the other one is going to be at 55. And if I show you the live preview, now it works, but wait, I'll explain to you. This one, okay, this one, and then this one, and finish. So what we did was we copy all of this animation from 20 all the way back to 40, and then we change its target. So the target is applied to the second one, which starts from 40 here all the way to 60 here. And now we do the same, but wait, this time I explained much more. So from 40, which the other animation starts here. Let me show you. If I go to the live preview and here, from 40 to 60, the transparency mode is animated. So we go and we take this one and this one and this one and this one, all of them shift plus, and then we right click and duplicate them. And after duplication, just again click it and change target. This time this animation is going to apply to the third one, hero bullet points, third click, and now it's changed. So this animation is going to start from 60. We bring it all the way to the 60. And at the beginning, it's 40 and opacity is 0. But this animation is going from 60 to 80. So the last two, now this one shift and click. And we want them to be at 80. So we bring them down to 61 and then at keyframe right at 80%. And from 60 to 65, we want the opacity goes to 100, and from 65 to from 65 to 75, we want the opacity to stay 100. So here, which is 60, we go to 65, and here we go to 75. Again, if you go live preview, the other one, which is the third one, it starts at 60. So at 60, it's down 40 pixel, and at 80, it's going up 40 pixel. At 60, the opacity is 0. At 80 again 0. But at 60, the opacity is 0. And when you go to 65, from 60 to 65, the opacity goes to 100. And from 65 to 75, it stays 100. And from 75 to 80, goes back to 0. So now you understand this one. So we can do all of them just one by one, and giving them 40 pixel move down, and then opacity 100, then 0, and depending to 10%. But it's a bit complicated to understand this copying and pasting, but if you do by yourself, you will understand. Again, we take this animation, we duplicate all the animation, we change the target, we give it to the last one here, and then we bring this one to 80, and the ending point should not be at 80, but instead it should be at 100, and the opacity stays from 85 to 95. So we give this one 85 and this one 95. So I just go fast here because I explained for the rest of them. I explained, so no need to explain for every single one of them. So here, look at the animation and also the position. So from 0 to 20, the animation of from 0 to 17, the animation of the headphone. And then from 20 to 40, there's animation. There's 40 to 60, there's animation. And then 60 to 80, there's animation. And 80 to 100, the other animation. So why it goes up? Because the hero actually here, the hero is finished. So that's why it's just going up. Okay, if you see here, yeah, so far we're all the way here, but as we do the animation, if you realize, the headphone is going to get smaller and smaller. So in that case, the moment at 20, the moment the animation of the text starts, the load animation is going to get smaller. So in here, we select the Lottie animation 1 at 20. We go and select the scale. So at 20, the scale is at 1. So it's no, it's 100. And at 100 we scale it down. So at 100 we scale it down to around 0.85, just getting smaller. But okay, not the bullet points, gosh. The load animation, yep. And also at 100 we select and we go scale, load animation, and we give it 0.85. And after this animation, so at this point the opacity is going to 0, the opacity of animation going to 0, and the other animation starts. As I explained to you, they have position absolute and one is in front of the other. So if you don't give this one the opacity of 0, then we will not be able to see this one in the back because the z-index of this one is less. So we will not see this unless this one has an opacity of 0, which is in the front. So from 97 or 96, we select the opacity. Okay, we give it 97. From 97, we give opacity of 100. Here, opacity is 100, and at 100, we give opacity of 0. And now if you go to the live preview, from 0 to 17, from 0 to 17, this headphone is animated, yeah, and from 20 to 40, this one animated, and as you see, from 20 all the way back to 100, the headphone is scaling down. Can you see it? And all the way back to 97, the opacity of the headphone is going to be 0. Save here, and is fully visible. So animation starts when it's fully visible and finish when it's fully invisible. But we add offset when it's not fully invisible, but in fact 17%. And also our offset when it's entering, we give it 10. So when it's enter here, okay, so now let's go and start the other section. But before that, let me explain to you again this part when I give it 17. So it means that when the bottom is when the animation should finish, if you don't give it offset, then it means that when it's fully invisible, which means that this is the hero, this blue one, when it goes all the way up here to 0, the animation should finish. But if we give it 17%, which means that when from here, when it's 17%, then the animation should finish. And that's why before it goes all the way up, see, before it goes all the way up, the animation actually finish. So that is when this part, I give it 17. And when the animation should start, when it's fully visible, no. When it's actually 10% from this place, from the monitor or the screen, when it's 10% to the view, then the animation starts. Okay, this one finished from here. So the first section is finished. And now let's go and build the other animation, which starts from here. And in this one, for example, from the height 0 to all the way to 100 is all of this one. From 0 to this one. So these are the sequence of animations. It's not from here, it's not just one animation. In here, the animation actually changes. So from this animation goes to 0 and another animation comes to the play, which is this headphone. And from here to here is one animation, and then this animation finishes and the other animation going to start from here. all the way here. So in this case, so the trigger, for example, from 0 to 50, this animation, and from 50 then to like 70, this animation, and from 70 maybe to 100, the other animation. And now let's go and first build the elements. So when the hero goes up here, then we don't have anything. So let's go and add another section or another div, it doesn't matter, whatever you prefer. So we put another section and we call this section to be comfort. We call it comfort. And for the comfort in here, so the moment this animation is finished, we scroll down and you see nothing happened. So in that case, we give it a 50% viewport height margin, which in this case push the hero up, and also a margin bottom of -70 viewport height, which push the other section down, and we give it position relative. And I hope now you understand why we give position relative and position absolute and position sticky. And inside this div, inside this section, we have another div, and we call that div to be comfort scroll container. This is the div that take those scroll sequences, those headlines that comes all the way here to the animation. This is just a parent, just on the wrapper. And also for this one, the scroll container, we give it a height, and in this case we give it a height of 685, and basically you can give it any height you want, and based on that height from 0 to the end, which is 100, you animate. So in this particular case we give it 0, but if you give it any height, it's fine. If the height is big, then the animation is going to be slow, and the height is less, the animation is going to fast to finish soon. And also this one, we give it position relative. Inside this one, we have another div, and we call this div to be sticky container. And as you know, what this sticky container does, the sticky container just basically stick to the top. You saw the example in Hero that this arrival of the fetus, this headline is inside a sticky container which takes the 100 viewport height. And that sticky container stays here as we scroll. And this arrival has a position of absolute inside that sticky. And as we scroll up and down, it just stays inside that sticky container, and it just stays. And why it moves up and down? Because actually we animate it. We animate it in the animation. Okay, enough of explanation. And this sticky container, this is exactly in the center. So the sticky container is going to be display flexbox, direction vertical, everything is going to be in the center, and we give it a maximum width of 980 pixel. We don't want it to be so big as the screen is big, and a height of 100 viewport height, and it just stays here with having 100 viewport height, and when we give it margin auto, it just come to the center. And as name suggests, we give it sticky and top of 0, which means on the top of 0, the sticky container just keep staying there. Okay, why it's not staying? Why it's not staying? Because the height of the comfort scroll container, you see, is 685 pixel, which is smaller, so it just goes out of the view. But we should give it viewport height. So now, if you see the sticky container, it just stick it there and just stays there. So inside this sticky container, the first one, we have a headline wrapper, this one. And for that one, we give a div block. And that div block is going to be named comfort heading wrapper. We give it a width of 100. And now we give this one position absolute, as you saw it in the hero. And as we scroll, it just stay here, and based on the scroll of the trigger, we just animate it up and down and with the opacity. So, but before giving them position absolute, we're just giving it later, it's fine. And we align the element inside to the center, just giving align center. Inside this, we have a paragraph and a paragraph of comfort and a heading of arrival. So let's go and giving them a paragraph. And we call this paragraph section eyebrow. And the section eyebrow has a font of 21 and a height of 1.19, and the color to be white, and the name is comfort. And below this one, we have a headline, and the headline is going to have a name of section headline. The font is the same. We give it font size of 96, height of 0.87, and the color white. And that's it, it finished. And same here, we have another one. So after this one it finished, we have this paragraph here. So for that one, again, we give another div block, and we call this div block comfort intro text wrapper. And for that one, we give a, because it's down here, so we give a padding top of 50 viewport height, and width of 100. Inside this one, we have a paragraph. And that paragraph, just let me write it down and we will see it soon. Okay, before writing it down, let's design it. Let's give their style. So the font is the same and the size is 26 pixel. The weight is 700. The height is 1.15. Remember, it's not pixel, okay? And the color is white. So we are finished from here. And now let me just write it down very fast. Okay, I write it down, and in here we see that it's not too long as this one. So for that, we give it a width of 35%. And now you see, the moment we give it a width of 35, then what happened is you just push this one up because the height of this one become bigger, so you just push that one up. And why actually do that? Because they are in the same so in the document, if we give some changes to one, so of course it's going to affect the other one. So how we can just take control over that by giving both of them position absolute, and here we give position absolute to the heading wrapper. And we are also going to give position absolute to the other one, which is this one. We're also giving them position absolute. And now they really feel like they don't exist, no one exists around them. They just feel that way. And now we can go and animate, or how about if we just okay, so now let's go and animate so far with this headline and with this paragraph. So here we can see that we see here it just starts and all the way here, and then this text comes, and then the animation changes to this other load animation, and then this paragraph comes. Okay, let's go and do just this much. So now the comfort is the one that has the total height, and based on that trigger we give the trigger to the comfort. So while scroll in view and play animation, and like before we make it smooth, the animation to be smooth, and we say it's when it's fully visible, and we make a new animation and we call this one comfort animation. So giving it comfort animation. So at 0, let's go and find out that second animation here. Okay, this one. At 0, the Loti animation, we go and find the Loti. At 0, it's 0. And also at this point we give it opacity. At 0 we give it opacity of 0, and we give opacity of 0, and very soon at 1 we give back opacity of 100. Very fast. So it's like actually the exact animation starts from 1. And here at 100 we give the animation to reach its 100. So based on the comfort height. Now if I scroll down, the animation is working, but what happened is because the first animation has a high Z index, it just stay here, and the other one animation is in the background. So let's go and give the first animation opacity of 0. Now we just turn it off. But if we come here, now it works. Here, you see? The animation works here. But we give it opacity of 0 because we want to work and see the second animation here. So now if you go back to comfort and open the comfort animation, and now if we go live preview, we have all of them with a higher Z index. So okay, what we need to do is to give all of them a opacity of 0, opacity 0, also this one, opacity of 0, also this one, opacity of 0, also this one, opacity of 0, because when we animate we can just give them back opacity of 100. So load animation 1 also has opacity of 0, and the load animation 2 actually opacity is to 100. The index is 10, this one is 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, and 6. So nothing is in front of them. And also let's give all of them canvas, and also load animation 2, canvas, and also load animation 3. The render is canvas, which is easy for the computer and also for Webflow, and also canvas, and load animation 5, also canvas, and load animation 6, also canvas. So we give all of them opacity 0, it's fine, because when we animate them here, we can just basically give them opacity of 100. So if you go live preview now, you see from 0 all the way to the ending of this section, it's just animating like this until it reaches the 100, and it just, you see, go out of the view. But as we can see here, it's not all the way, just some little percentage, maybe 50 or 60. For example, from 0 all the way to 50, then 50 from 70, this one, from 70 to 100, this one. So let's put it all the way back, for example, somewhere to 40. So we want start at 0 and finish at 100. So if it starts at 0, or it starts at 1 and all the way back to the 40, this animation is finished. And from 40 we start this other animation, this headphone that's coming into the view. Okay, but before that, let's animate the headline. So the headline starts way back, for example, from 0 to 10, 10 to 20, or 20 to 25, and then this headline starts. Okay, this headline starts when you see the head is in this position. So let's find that position in our percentage. So it's come all the way here, not maybe 25. You see this head gesture, this head position, it's kind of similar here. So we can select around 30. So we go to the 30, but now we should select which one. This comfort heading wrapper. So around 30, at 30 we give opacity of 0, and the move down, okay, we move it down 40 pixel down, and when the when it's going to finish, you see, when it's in this position, which is almost 40. So exactly at 40, we again make the comfort heading to just finish. So we select the comfort heading wrapper and we go at 40, and we put the opacity down to 0, and the move, we just move it actually up 40, and if just for a second we give opacity to 100, and if we go live preview, you see from here the text is going up from 30 to 40 it's going up, and from 30 to 40 the opacity goes 100. But we don't want it that way. We want it this way, that at the bottom it's just going from 0 to 10. It just goes from bottom to up. But in here you see opacity is very less, 0, and it just comes to 100 and it stays at 100 until some point, and then it go back to 0. So how we can do it here, like we did it in Hero. So at 40 we give opacity to 0, but between 30 and 35 at some position we wanted the opacity to stay 100. So let's go from 33, opacity is 100. So from 0 to 33 opacity become 100, and from 33 to 37 we let opacity to just stays at 100. So a multiple of 3, 33 and 37, yeah, something like that. Yeah. So now if we go and see live preview, so from 1 the animation come, and then at 30 the headline going up with an opacity of 0, then at 33 become 100. Between 33 and 37 opacity stays 100, and again go back out of the view with an opacity of 0. And after that, then the other animation actually going to start, this one. And after some point this other animation is going to this paragraph animation is going to start. And how we are going to do that, so for that one let's find the third animation and start the third animation at 40. But before that, so as we saw in here that the load animation actually from 0 to 1 it just very fast goes from opacity to 0 to 100. So now how we can change from this animation to the other animation here, from this animation to the other animation. So what we can do is just the other animation to get opacity 0, and this one just get opacity of 100. So basically that is what our idea is, to just take the opacity of one animation goes to 0 and the opacity of the other animation goes to 100, and kind of in the same position here at 40. And at 39, around here at 39 we select the animation 3 before 40 when the other animation is going to finish. So at here we select and we go to the opacity actually, and at this point the opacity is 0, and exactly at 40 the opacity is going to get 100. Load animation 3, no, this one should be the load animation 3. We select the load animation 3 and then click on the 40 and we go to the opacity and we give opacity to 100. So if you go live preview, so here the moment this animation is going to finish, then the other animation just goes from opacity 0 to 100, just come to the view. So in 40 we again select the Lottie animation 3. So from 39 to 40 we just make its opacity to get 100, and at 30 we start, at 40 we start at 0, which is this one, and all the way back we go to 60, all the way back to 60, and we again take the same Lottie animation 3. So here at 40 it's 0, at 60 it goes all the way to 100 or 99. So now if you preview it, you see here at 39 the animation just get 100 opacity, and then it just come here, and from here we just all the way animate it to 60 until it goes back there, 60. Load animation 3. Oh, I think I put the wrong animation here because it's coming out and then it goes there. Yep, I changed this animation. So this load animation 3. Okay, let me preview. Which one is this one? No. Which one is this one? This one. Okay, we actually need this one, this flip.json. And let's see how we can replace that one back to where it should be. So let me just fix it very soon. Okay, I found it out because I put this load animation 3. If you preview this load animation 3 and the load animation 5, they are basically the same load animation. But this load animation 3 actually should have been this one. Then flip that because they have the same name, so I just misplaced them. So this is the 5th one and this should be the 3rd one. So I just bring it here to load animation 3. And if I preview, you see, it's this one when you just come to the view. Okay, and I'm going to delete this one, and this load animation is going to take the class of load animation 3 and load animation 3. And now if we go to the comfort and to the animation, and now if we live preview, okay, this one, and at 39 with the opacity of the first animation going to 0 and the other at 39 to 40 when the second animation is going to the view is this animation. You see, from 39 to 40 the opacity goes to 100, and from 40 to 60 it just animates coming from here to here, exactly like this one, which it goes from here to all the way here, and then from here the other animation actually starts. Again, open the comfort, and based on this one actually this paragraph is going to animate. If we see here, when it comes to the view, then this other paragraph is going to animate. So if you go to the live preview of ours, then from here it goes all the way to 60. And around this 60, then this paragraph should be animate. So let's see how we can animate that one. Okay, so if we see it here, then this one come and just go up, like exactly like this one, the arrival of the fetus, that headline. So this one was from 30 to 40. And now let's go and give 10 to the other one, which will start from this paragraph. From 55, we give it a move down of 30, and also at 55 we give opacity of 0, and at 65 around there, which is 10%, we give the we give the opacity back to 0, and also the move actually goes up 40. Okay, so in between, so every single one of them we give from here, just okay, we give like 10%, and then this one, and then the other one. So from 55 to 65 we are going to animate that paragraph, but in between the 55 and 65, which is some value, and we stay in those values 100 of opacity, and those values is 56. So we go from 56, we get the opacity to stay 100. So between, if we go live preview, from 55 to 56, it goes to 100. And from 56 to 59, we stay, okay, 59, we stay opacity of 100. And at the end, this opacity must be 0. And now if you go live preview, now you can see it just work as expected. And now it's time that at where at 60, no, the load animation, actually at 60 the load animation is going to finish. So at 60 we should change and we should put the other animation, which is this one. So how we can put this animation, and also we need to put this headline and also these values here, which we haven't put it here. So far we just animate the first one, and then this headline, and then this other headline, and from at 60 we should change it to the other animation. Okay, so let's go and let's see how we can add the rest of the element. But before that, this headline is arrival of the fittest. I should write this one. And the headline, I want to change it to, because I forgot, arrival of the fittest. And why the comfort is so close there. Yeah, on this section, the line height is this one. And on the paragraph, actually, it's not pixel. That's why it's just so close. Okay, we fixed that one. So we can just go and give them opacity of 0. Here, because when we animated it, we give it opacity back. So even if you go opacity 0 on the animation, they receive the opacity back to 100, and it just work as expected. So after this one, otherwise if you just keep giving everything position of absolute, and it will just be one on the top of each other, and it will look very messy and very hard to understand and concentrate on what we are working. And now we're going and add all of this one, and this paragraph, and finally finish, and this one is on the other section. Okay, first we need to add this one, this large, medium, large, and this paragraph. Choose from 3 sizes. And for that one, we have, okay, this is sticky container, and we have another div in the comfort scroll container. Yep. And we give this one also sticky container, or the class of sticky container. And inside that one, we have another div block. And this div block is the comfort tips. So let's go and build. We call this one comfort tips. Comfort tips. We give it display of flexbox because this one is actually this large, medium, and large, medium. This should be small. That's a just typo mistake. So comfort tips position display flexbox. Horizontal, stretch, and from the left, and we give a margin top of 200 pixel to push it down, and also we have a width of 100, a width of 100%, and inside that we have 3 paragraphs. We have these 3 paragraphs, and let's just give them some width of 175 pixel and a margin right of around 91 pixel and no margin bottom. The size of the font, the weight is 700 and the size is 17 pixel. The color is white and the line height is 1.3 and the letter spacing is 0.004 em, and this one is going to be large. And basically how we understand where this should be and how much of the margin and also how much of the padding or how much width we should have. Actually, we should first put this animation into the play, and as we animate, we should see at what position they should be. So it's just some try and error, but we are not going to do it here, otherwise it takes a lot of time. So we already know, because this is already being made. So the paragraph, and then what we do is we duplicate, but before that we just name it to tip, and we take this one, Ctrl Z, Ctrl V, and Ctrl V, and because of the flex box of their parent, they just stay horizontally. And this one is going to be medium, and this one is going to be small. And let's give them combo class. This one is large, this one is medium, and this one is going to be small. Okay, this combo class is going to be large. This combo class is going to be medium, and this combo class is going to be small. So the medium one is going to have a margin of 0 and a width of 173, and also the third one, which is this one, the small one, also going to have a margin of 0. So you just, and also the last one, which is the small one, it doesn't have any width, which we put it to auto. So it's just some try and error to see how that animation can, how we place these ones so they are just relative to this one, the big, medium, and small part of that headphone. So these 3 done. And next we have this paragraph down here, and now it's time to make one for that one. And for that one we put another div here, another div, and we call this div choose size. Choose size. And for the style of that one, so this one is pushed much more down, and we give it a padding top of 460 pixel, push everything down, and 100% width, 100% width, and inside we have a paragraph. So here we have this paragraph, so we call this one paragraph 1, not paragraph, because we already used that one. We give it paragraph 1, and this paragraph 1 has a 22 pixel of size, 700 bold, and 1.18, and the color must be white, and we give it 0.004 EM. It should not be pixel, gosh, it should be this one. And we're going to have a width of maximum width because we don't want it to be bigger than 33.33% and a margin right of around 91 pixel. Yep, now it's in the place here, and I should write it down here. Choose from 3 sizes. So this one also done, and now it's time to go to the other one, which is the paragraph up here, this one. Okay, this paragraph up here. And how are we gonna do that one? Put another div here. We call it comfort tip text. We just push it up a little bit of around 50 pixel, a width of 100, a width of 100, and also the paragraph inside. So we put the paragraph inside of this, and why it's actually down. The comfort tip 50, and the comfort tip should be up here. Oh, okay, I got it. Why this one is not up there? Because we need to give them position absolute actually. So if you give this one position absolute, and now it's in the center, and also if you give this one position absolute, then it's here, and now we also give this one position absolute. So inside we have this paragraph, which we are going to give it the class of the paragraph 1, and we change its inside to this one. So now you know why we give it position absolute. As I explained, if we give size, padding, margin to 1, and it will affect their siblings if they have position static or relative. So only giving them position absolute, then giving them position absolute just make them to not affect each other. So they're in this position. If you give this one padding, margin, or width or height, it will not affect their siblings. Okay, we have this one now. Now actually we can just turn the opacity to 0 and then just go and animate, but it's fine. We can animate even if they have opacity of 100. So now it's time to go and animate, because in here this animation changes, finish, and the other animation start, which is this flip. No, not that flip. Here, from here we start to animate the second animation, and then this paragraph, and after that these sizes, and after the sizes this animation, and after that the rest of the animations actually are from the other section. So let's go and animate. We have been here. So if we go back to the comfort, close the hero. If we go to the animation and live preview, we can see that we are actually here at 60 with the load animation 3. So now from 60 we animate again because we have 40% more left. So from 60 to 40 we put the other animation. Okay, at 59 we just, because at 60 the load animation 3 is finished, So at 59, we select the low T animation 4. The low T animation 4. We select the low T animation 4, and at 59, what we do is that we go to the opacity, and at 59 we give opacity 0, and exactly at 100 with low T animation 3 is finished, we give opacity to 100, which is the other animation, and from 60 to 61, because we want the transformation from this one to the other animation would be very smooth. So from 60 to 61, we make the opacity of the animation 3 to go from, okay, we select animation 3, from 60, the opacity which is at 100, to 61, we make opacity to 0. So basically the low T animation 3 from 60 to 61 goes to 0, and the low T animation from 59 to 60, the low T animation 4 is going from 0 opacity to 100. So just changing one animation to the other one. And from 60, the low T animation 4 is going to start. So we select the low T animation 4. So the opacity, just bring them and just show them and hide them. But at 60 now, we actually start the animation itself. So at 60, the low T animation is 0. And at 100, this is the last animation in this section, we give it 100 opacity. So now if we go and preview it, so in here, with 59 to 60, animation is actually hiding, you see? That's why it's getting small, because I think SVG canvas and the low T animation 3 is SVG. So if we just give one SVG and one canvas, then you can see it clearly that, you see, this is here the transformation actually happened, that from 59 to 61, from one animation it goes to the other one. Because it has different size, you can see it. But if we give both the same size, the canvas and also low T animation 3, we give them canvas, and now you barely can see that transformation from one animation to the other animation. So from 60, actually, the animation 4 is starting, which is this one. So now the background, all the animation is put into place, and now it's time to animate all of these one. So the first one is that when it comes up here, and from here, when the moment this paragraph is hidden, and then this paragraph come to the play, which is choose from 3 of, and that paragraph is actually this one. Okay, that paragraph is choose size. So let's go and animate it. And like the other one, which was, for example, one of them was from 30 to 40 and from 55 to 65, those animation. And this choose size, we're going to animate it from 65 to 75. So if we go here at 65 and we give the opacity and move. So at 65, let's give the opacity, and the keyframe is 65, and the opacity at the beginning is 0, and also at 65 the move is move it down on the y-axis 40 pixel, and at 75 we give opacity back to 0. So this is 75. We give opacity back to 0 and also move it up. Move it up minus 40. So if you really focus on the hero section, how we make this animation of the text, then here would be very easy for you. So from 65 to 75, we just move from down to up and opacity of 0 to 0. But from 65 to some point between 75, we make the opacity 100 and it stay 100 to some point, and then at 75 go back to 0. And let's find between 65 and 75, from where to where we make the opacity to be 100. And if we go live, then here, this one, and after that, if we at 75, if we give the opacity to 100, and if we do live preview, and we can see that when this all three just go up. Actually, this is 75. Okay, we go from 65, let's choose size. You see, it takes much more. This one goes very fast, this paragraph. And this paragraph, you see, just take longer to finish. So this is basically from 65. Yep. We go from 65 to 85. Choose size, opacity, and move. And we go 85. 85. Okay, let's see again. Here. Yeah, so from 65 to 85. And in between at 75, we give opacity to 100. At 75, we give opacity to 100. And if we see now, you see, also in here, it just goes up like this. So between 75, for example, between 75 to 80, we just stay at 100 opacity. And if you go live preview now, yep, now it's working. And now it's time to do animation on large, medium, and small. So if you see in here, it's not moving, it's just opacity appearing and then going to opacity 0 very fast. And basically, when we are at 80, this one, when we are at 80, this one just large, medium, and large just appear, and when we are at the end, it just go height. So let's go and select that. Okay, which one is that one? I think it's this. Yep, it's in comfort tip. And now let's go and animate this comfort tip. So the choose size at 80, the opacity goes from 100 back to 0. So at 80, we select the comfort size, and at 80, we go to the opacity, and it's 100 here. And when we go back to from 80 to 85 or maybe 87, we get the opacity back to 0. Okay, let's see. It just see this medium. The opacity from 0 goes to 100 and then goes back from 100 to 0. And now let's find out from 80 maybe to 85, and from 85 to around 95 we just do something like that. Okay, let's see. Okay, it just appear here. So let's find where is that position. In our case, here. Okay, before these three come to the play, before these three come, before these three, okay, before these three, actually this large, medium, and these sizes actually appear. So that must be not 80, that must be around 79. And from 79, when they all appear, this is 100. So let's go and find, okay, in here the opacity is actually 0. And let's find out on our animation when the all three actually shows, that is around 86. So we go to 87 or 86, and here the opacity, we go to 87 and we give opacity of 100. So now if you see live preview, when they all three just appear, these sizes also appear, and in here they are all actually at 100, and from 87 to around some values, when it disappear, when the moment they two disappear, these sizes also disappear. So when that disappear around 87 to 90, it just go back to 0. So comfort tips 79 to comfort tips at 90. Here at 79 we put it at 100, and at 87 we put it back to 0. And now if you see, so we should, at 79 we put it at 0, but in between 79 and 87, for example 85, we put the opacity to 100. And now if you see live preview, it just come and then stay at 100, and then it just disappear. Okay, back to the animation, and now when we animate, it's just going up, you see. And the reason for that is because we don't have, because the trigger is like this one. If you see this example, you see here, if we go all the way down to here, this is the last animation, and if you don't have any other diff, the last one I turn it off, then you see the animation just finish very fast, because this one should go all the way back to here in order to animation to finish. So if we don't add this diff block, then we cannot just scroll up this one to go up. But if I give this one at the end, and you see now we can scroll up. Now I can scroll this one all the way up to 0, and the animation is going to be finished. And for this one to be 0, but in here we give an offset of 15%, which means that it will finish when from the top it's 15% in the view, not exactly going out like 0 here. And in here, as we scroll, so we just, in here we reach up, and all of this other height actually as we scroll belongs to this scroll sequence. We had 2000 viewport height, and this 2000 doesn't affect anything because it has position absolute anything in the document here. So we need to add another div block here just to actually can see our animation. We just give it 100 viewport height, but then we will make this to be our next section. So if we go back to the animation, so I hope you understand why we need this extra div. So in order to complete our animation, and you understand that 50% from the top means that here that add offset. So okay, if we go now and this one, then text this animation and then this animation, then we can see the sizes and then the size disappear. Actually, the size disappear faster. So when this animation finish, okay, this small disappear before this one. So how we can do, maybe we can go and find the here the comfort tips opacity, and it's 85. How about putting it 86? And if you live preview it now, now they disappear at the same time. And now the only thing we need to do now is this one, this paragraph, the comfort text, the comfort tip text. We should animate this one, and this one is when you see when this one goes all the way here, then this animation is going to play. It starts from here and goes all the way to here. Okay, how we're gonna achieve that one? So we actually did that animation many times in Hero and also in Comfort. So that must be easy for us. So now, okay, from 93 all the way to 100, we animate this one. So from 93 to 99, and in between 93 and 99, we put the opacity 100 at some point. For example, let's see again here. Okay, from 93 to 99. Yep. So here we select that one and we go to the 93. Okay, we go move and we move it down 40 pixel, and also, okay, we put this one to be at 93, and also at 93 we put its opacity to be at 0, and at 100 or around 99. Okay, when actually, let's see if we go live preview, when this reaches here, not 99 but 98. So at 98 we again take the opacity and put it to 0, and we put this one around 98, not 99. And okay, let's go put it 99. And also at this point, the move is going to be minus 40 pixel. Just put it up. And between 93 and 99, let's find something like 95. We put opacity to 100. At 95, we put opacity to 100. And now let's go and play. Yep. From here it starts, and from until this one goes here, just go up and finish. Like this one. But in here, the opacity just stays 100 at some point. So when at 95, we arrive at 100. So between 95 and 96, 96 we actually stay at 100. And after that we go back to 0. So just like this one. come here, then it stays at 100 for a bit of second, and then go back to 0. And let's see. Yeah, it's finished. And from here, another animation starts. So if we want the animation to be smooth, we just keep going back to the other animation. We go back to the other animation in the next section. But the next section's animation is going to get opacity here, stays here. And then in the next section, we again start to animate it. So we are going to do it this way. So at 99, we take this load animation 5. So the beginning starts here and we animate it in the next section. So it's 0 at 99 and at 100, we give it opacity of 100. Which now at 100, when we arrive here, this animation that stays here is actually Loti animation 5, and we are going to use it to animate in the next section. So it's this way. So here, exactly here, when it disappears at 100, this is not the Loti animation 4, this is the Loti animation 5. And the next section here, we use the Loti animation 5 to actually animate it like this one. And then we have those paragraphs. Okay, so that is for the next one. So let's see actually what we achieved so far. So here we have built so far this much. Okay, now it's time to see what we have in the next section. In the next section, we have this paragraph to animate. Then this animation stops and we have this paragraph. And then we have these two. And then we have these two. And then it goes and finish. So how many percentage? For example, let's see and analyze. So this one just comes and goes up, and then this one, so maybe 20, then we give okay. If you see this animation, this headline takes much more time, much more percentage of the trigger. And then we have this one, which is go appear and disappear fast, and then also this one and this one. So basically they take the same percentage. For example, if this takes 20%, then also this takes 20, and also this one takes 20 and finish. But this one takes more, this headline. So maybe, for example, from 0 to 40% this one, then from 40 to 60 this one, then from 60 to 80 these two, and from 80 to 100 this one. And now let's go and build this one. We actually need a new section. And for that new section, let's use this div. We give it 100 in order to complete our animation. So now we don't need it to be 100. Let's rename it to a new section, which is ANC. And for this one, okay, this ANC is going to have a margin bottom of -18 viewport height. We push down the next section and we give it actually the auto height, and position is relative. Then after that we have the container. So we give it the ANC container, and the container is going to have a height of 1005 viewport height. So you can give it any height in order as long as you can animate in that height and with the percentage. So we give it 1005 and we give it position relative and nothing more. And then inside that A and C we have like every other section, we have another section, another div, which this one is the sticky container again. The sticky container, which takes the view width and it stays in here. And inside this, okay, first of all, let's give this one the opacity of 0 because we already animated them. So if we give opacity 0 here, it just gives space for us to work, but it will not affect the will not affect them because while animation we give them opacity back to 100 and animated them. Okay, sticky container, and inside this sticky container we have few paragraphs which are, okay, this is the first one, then this one and this one. Okay, let's build this one first. Sound that cuts out the noise. And okay, this one was sticky. Oh, sticky. So all of the divs you put here, we are going to give it position absolute. So we rename this one to this section intro. And we give it a width of 100. A width of 100 and position absolute. But before giving it position absolute, we just put the thing inside it. The paragraph and the heading. So we have this paragraph. So we give this paragraph here. And we call this one the section eyebrow. And that inside we have active noise cancellation. And we put this one in the center actually, and it's actually 700, which is bold. And after that we have the heading. And for the heading, we call it the section headings, section headline. Okay, we just give it the section heading. And we give it the font size of 96 and 0.8 as the line height, and the color going to be white and center align, and we change it to sound that cuts out the noise, and 0.9 would be better. 0.9, and now we give it position absolute. We are going to animate it. So now we give opacity 0, then while animation we give it the opacity back to 100. And now let's see the other one, and which one is the other one. So after this one, we have this paragraph. So let's build that one. So for that one, we have a div. Okay. And this div, we call it the intro paragraph. And that is down here. So we give it, if we give position absolute, then it just stay as it is. We give it a padding top of 50 viewport height and a width of 100%. And inside that we have the paragraph. So we basically push the paragraph 50 viewport height down. And this paragraph, the name is the NC intro paragraph text. And we give this one the size of 26 and 1.1 of line height, and also color of white. And the text I cannot copy, so I should write it down very fast. So okay, in here we have this much width, but in here it's too long, so we give it a we give a width of not a width of, we give it a margin, we push it down this way, and we give a margin of around so if we give it in percentage, that would be better. So we give it a percentage of around 58%. And it looks bold, so we make it 700 bold. And then we have the other section. And then after that, we have this one and this one. So for each single one of them, we are going to make a div like this one, giving them position absolute. So let's turn the opacity of this one back to 0, and while animation, give it back to 100. So div block, we put it here, and we call this one ANC external mic. Anc is external mic. And this one the same, we give it here. We see if we give it position absolute, it would be in the center. So we just push it down. We push it down around 200 pixels down, and we give it a width of 100%. We give it position absolute, and then we go and put the paragraph inside. So we have this paragraph, we're going to put it inside, and we call the paragraph the anc bullets. And this paragraph is going to have a 700 bold and a size of 22 pixel and 1.1 of line height and the color of white, and we give it a margin to the, we give it a width of around, the maximum width should be 35%, and we write it down on outward facing microphone. But the color here is not white, only the external sound is white. So we change the color to this one here, the color a little bit gray, and we put this external sound into a wrapper, and we call this one to be white, and we change its color to white. Okay, this one done, and we should make another div exactly in this position. So we give it another div, and remember, if you don't give it position absolute, then one will affect the other. But if you give it position absolute, then we can put it exactly in the same place. So we give it position absolute, the other one, which is this one. We also push it down the same amount. We push its children, which is the paragraph. We just push it down by 200 pixel. We give it width of 100%. And the paragraph inside, we put a paragraph inside as the other one, but let's give it a name. For animation, it's useful. We say ends, bullets, right. We give it the ends external sound. External sound. And inside we have the paragraph, and actually we give the paragraph as the other one, which are very similar, but we also give it a combo class, bullets right, and we push it to the right because of the first class it's on the left, but we are going to push it to the right by giving them some margin. And we put the margin in percentage, and then we push it all the way to around 65. And the color of this one is exactly also the same, but in the value, let me write it down what it is. Okay, we write it down, but we have this green here and this white here. So for the external sound, we wrap it up and give it the class of what? No. We give it the class of white, this one, and this active noise. This anti-noise, we also wrap this one and we give it the class of green, and we give that one the color of green in here. We give it the color of green, but if we be absolute, which green actually we give it? Let me find it out. So we give it this green, and after these two we have another two, this two, which we should also give it the same. We should make two divs, put it on the right in the same value like this one. So let's make these two opacity goes to 0, and then we will animate them. and we add a div block, and this one we call it internal mic, and same as before, we give it the here we just push it up a little bit, so we give it a padding bottom of 350 pixel and width of 100%, and we give it position absolute. And then inside we have a paragraph, and that paragraph we call it the paragraph right, and for the paragraph we give it bold 700, 22 pixel size, 1.18 of the line height, and the color of white, but we don't want it to be here, so we just push it to the right with giving it margin in percentage, and we go here to 65, and let's write it down what it is. Okay, we write it down, and this looks the same, but except the anti-noise is green. So anti-noise, we wrap it up and give it the color of green. And the other div is exactly the same as this one, but just we're pushing it down. So we call the other div continuously, and the same as before, we give it width of 100% and position of absolute, but in this case we push down the text inside it, and we are going to give it the paragraph, and the paragraph is going to have the class of paragraph right. Wait, we already have one here, and paragraph right. Okay, it's on the right, and all we need to do is just write it down because they have the same class and the same values. And after these two, actually the animation is finished. So now everything is finished. All we need to do is just start the animation. So let's go to the scroll sequence. We open it up because we are going to need this animation 5, because in the previous section in comfort, so we just bring from here, we just change from this animation to this animation 5, from the animation 4 to animation 5. And now in this section of new section, we just going to start from animation 5 and animate. First, we're going to animate this heading and this animation of this one, and this one. So we tried so many times, so we really understand how to do this kind of animation that goes from 0 to 100, 100 to 0, and from down to up. Okay, let's go and give a new animation, and we call that animation the same as the section name. So while scrolling and view, play animation, but first of all, when it's fully visible, and a new animation, we give it an animation and also smooth it down to 70. Comfort is also 70, it's also 70. Yep. Animation, we open it up, and in here first, let's see here. Actually, before the animation start, you see, before the animation do anything, this headline is going to come into the view. So actually this one starts from the 0, this intro one. But before that, let's go and make the opacity of this to 0, otherwise we will mix up, and no, this one, otherwise it will be very complicated to work with. So the first one that we are going to work with is this hero intro. So let's go to put the opacity to 100 and going to the ink and open the animation. So this ink intro starts from 0 and it goes all the way to around, let's find out. Okay, so this animation starts from here and it just come and then stay here, and from here the background stay and we animate this text, and then after that this just go down and the other animation starts, and the full height is between this animation and this animation. And let's find out actually how long each animation should be. So to find it out, let's calculate how to, okay, the animation from here, from 1, we can go all the way to around, for example, here to 20. And then how many texts we have? Okay, 1, then you have 2, then we have 3, 4, and then the last one is here. So we cannot do it that way. Let's break it down on the animation. So we have first animation, and this animation is much longer, and also the other animation is long too. So think about this. What if we give from 0 here to all the way 50% this animation, and from 50% all the way to 100 the other animation? And after that, when at 0 this animation starts, then after that we have this text. So 50% should be divided between this text, this one, and this one. And the first one, this headline, takes more of the percentage, and the rest are coming and going very fast. So let's do something like that one. Break 50% for this animation and 50 for the other. And let's go and see how we can do something like that. Okay, the Lottie animation 5 actually on the other section it already exists. So we go from 1. We don't animate from the 0 because if you see, as you see here, it's not moving until this one comes. So from 0 to 1 we're going to give opacity something for this headline, but we're going to animate from 1. Here we take this Lottie animation 5 and we put it down to 1. So from 1, which starts at 0, to 100 if we give it 100 here. And now if we see it here, it's not working. So let's see the opacity of the animation in the other one, which is in the comfort. So the last animation here actually was Lottie animation 5, and the opacity was in fact 100 here. So back to here, and let's go and give animation 5 opacity of 100, not 0. because in here we are not going to put load animation 5 and give it opacity 100, because that takes space and we need a lot of space here to animate all of them, otherwise it becomes much complicated. So here now if we go from 1 all the way to 100, it's all this animation. So why is going up? Because the height is not enough. Okay, as I told you before, that the height of this scroll sequence, I put it 20,000 or 2,000, but I told you the height must be the full height of the website, as I showed you in this example here. If I go back to that example here, which I made only to explain what I do, because this website is complex to understand. You see, all the way go down and down and down to here. So you see this part here, it must go up until the animation finishes. But the parent of all of those green, blue, yellow, all of this one, which hold all the animation inside, is this div block 4, and this div block 5. So this one should have the complete height of our website. For example, this is 1600. So how many div do we have? 4, 800, and if every div is actually 400. So we have 400, 800, 1200, and 1600, which is the same as here. So this div is just an extra div. So after that, you see, it just, after this 600 div, it just go up and this other div come. So that is what happened here. So the width is 2000 and it just go up, and after the 2000 is finished, it just go up. It takes its inside children and push them up. That's why it just go out of the view, because the total height of our website is bigger than that scroll sequence. So the hero is 600 because 100 plus 500, and then the height of this one, comfort, is 685. So let's open the calculator and we have the 600 plus what? Plus the 685 plus 685 plus, and then we have this ANC, and the height of this one is 1005. And now we are going at 1005 is 2290. So let's see how to put that value, 2290. So we go to the scroll sequence and we give it, instead of 2000, we give it 2290. And now we are done. We go back to our animation here and we open it. And wait a second, the smooth should be 70, not 16. Open it here. And now when we do live preview until going to 100, the animation works. Yep. So in 93, it's not actually going up anymore because we don't have space. So just for that one, we give a div block here, which now we can scroll it much more down. If we give that div a height of 100 viewport height, and now we can scroll up all the way and pushing everything up. Okay, we go back here, we go back to the animation, and now let's start to see the animation. Until 100, the animation is finished. And we can also add some offset where at what position we want the animation to be finished. and at down we give add offset when it's finished, not all the way back but at 10. So let's see now. You see the animation actually finish when it's 10% from the bottom here, instead of just going all the way out, just 10%. Okay, but we don't want to give this one to 100. We said that we're gonna give it around 50%. Yeah, around 50% where it's going to end. So we give this animation to be around 50, as we said that 50 for this animation and 50 for the other one, and then we break that 50 between these paragraphs. Okay, so we go from 0 to 50, and then from 50 the other animation will start. So let's go here, and when we scroll down, when we come to here, okay, when we scroll at this position, it just stopped. You see, it just stopped. And let's find out where we can find exactly that position, which is around 17. So at 17 we want to stop it here. So for that case, at 70 we just stop it there. Okay, so as we scroll down, okay, we go until 20, because after that a multiple of 10 would be easier. So we go 20 here, and okay, first of all we should select the low T animation 5, and exactly at 20 we go low T and we go until here, which is 45. And now we scroll. You see, from 1 to 45 it comes here, and then it stays from 45 and it goes back to 50. But we want it to stop from 1 when it comes here, then in here it starts all the way back around near 50, and then it just go out. So how we can do that one? It just here and then here, and it just go down, and it just go down very fast. Did you realize? Yep. So for that one, so between 20 all the way down to 45, all the way down to 45, we take low T, 45, and we stay in that position, which goes from 1 to 20, and then we stay from 22, no, not 22, we actually give this one 20. From 20 to 45, it actually stay in that position until 45, and from 45 to 50, you see, just go down very fast. And from here now, the first animation is here. So now all we need to do is animate this paragraph and actually all the paragraph you see here. So the first one is this intro paragraph. So for that one, I told you that we start at 0, right? Yep. You see here, before anything happened to that animation, actually that animation starts from 1, and from 0 actually start this animation. And that one is the first one, the intro. And as we see here, this animation is actually until it starts at 0 and it finishes exactly when we are in this position. And that position where we find it out, if we go live, preview it live, then it must be around somewhere here, right? 15 or 14. So we go and choose 15 and intro at 15. Okay, now you know how to make that animation. Just opacity and move, playing with move and opacity. So move. First of all, we put it down 40 pixel, and also, okay, it's not 17, it's actually 15. And we give opacity of 0, and from 15 to actually where we have this one. It starts from here and all the way to here. Yep. That is 15. Okay, from 0, which is here, we go the opacity of 0, and also at 0 we push it up 40, and at the end, which is here, we actually push it down. No, push it up. Yep, here we push it down, and then we again move it up. So in between the opacity, which is here, is 0, and also here is 0. In between, we find a position that we make the opacity 100 and stay at some point. So from 0 to 5, we give it opacity of 100. Here, we give opacity of 100, and we stay at 100, and we stay at 100 until 10, and we give it 100 again. And now if we see the preview, so from 0, then we have this one, and then we have it here. Okay, at 15 it disappears. And exactly at 15, when it disappears, then other one comes and moves out very fast. So we have actually 15% here to all the way 50. So between 15 and 50, we should divide and make a percentage for this one, this one, this one, and so on. So we can go 50, 30, and 45. 45 finish and go down. So we give every single one of them 50. So this one must be from 50 to actually 30. So which one is that one? That one is this intro paragraph. So let's just make it the opacity this one. Now the animation of this one is finished. So let's get opacity 0 and give the other one opacity 100. So we could actually work with it. Okay. So from 50 to around 30. So we have 15, and so we have from 15 to 50 left. So we give every single one of them actually 10. So here we are at 15, then from 15 to 25, 25 to 35, 35 to 45, and 45 to 5, it goes back to where it was. So for that case, we go here, and from 15 to 25, we animate this one, and we know actually how to animate it. We select, we go at 15, and we give it a move of 40 down, and also opacity of 0. And from 15, then we choose 2 value, which it is going to stay 100 at those points. So from 15, let's go to 17, and at 70 we give opacity of 100, and from 70 until 17 to 20 we stay at opacity of 100, and from 15 with 25 is the end, and at 25 we give it the opacity back to 0, and the move, we actually move it up minus 40, And now if you see the live preview, this one, and then this go up from 15 to 25. And now from 25 to 35, we have to animate these two. So what we do, we again take this one, make it opacity 0, and we take the other two, which is the external mic and the external sound. We make them 100, so we could see that we are working with that one. And in here, let's go to the trigger here, and in here, this is actually from 25 all the way to 35. So from 25, let's take this external mic and external sound. We take the external mic, and at 25 we go opacity of 0, and at 25 also we give move of 40. And then what we do, we shift click and we duplicate this one, and then we change target to the other one, external sound, which they are actually the same. And after that we take all of this one and we duplicate, and from 25 all the way to 35 we have that animation. So we go to the we take this one and we go to actually 35, which is the end of this two animation, and the opacity go back to 0 and both correct, and the move is actually -40, not 40. -40, and the move of the other one also -40. And in between 25 to 35, the opacity stays constant at 100 at some point. From what point to what point? Now we're going to find out from what point. So in here we did from 15 to 17, 17 to 20. So 15 to 17, 2 and 3. So in here we go from 25 to 27 and 27 to 32 or something. Yeah. So we select the external mic and we go at 27 and we get opacity. Okay, we go 27 and opacity at 100. And again, we duplicate this, we change target to external sound because they have the same one. And then we again duplicate this to here, and now we put it to 32 actually. Yeah. And now if we see, okay, this one, then this one, and then these two, which finish at 35. And from 35 to 45, we're gonna animate this two. Again, we animate one and then copy paste for the other one. And in that case, that is the external sound. And the other one is basically the internal mic and continuously. So let's go, and this external mic, we put the opacity back to 0 because while animation we give it 100, so it will work. Also this one 0. And now we're gonna work with this one and this one. And for that we go back to our section and going to the animation, and here this one is going to from 35 to actually 45, and from 35 we have the internal mic and continuously from 35 to 45. So at 35, we select this internal mic and we go to the opacity, and opacity is 0 at first, and then we go move, the beginning move of 40 pixel up, and then we take the 2 and then we duplicate, and then we change target and we select this and continuously. So I just do it here one by one so you could practice more and more. Otherwise we can just do for one and then affect the class. Here we select the class and then we just choose which class we're going to affect, and we can just give both of them one class so just the animation could work without doing too much work here. But if you do like this, we can practice more. So we can take all of them here for both. Again, we duplicate, and the duplication should be at 45 because we go from 35 all the way to 45. So we go to 45, but opacity is okay, 0 and 0, but move, now we should move up. So we move it -40, and also the other one should be also -40. And after that, in between 35 and 45, we can, like here 27, 32, we can now choose 37 and 42. So at 37, let's select first the internal mic, and at 37 opacity. At 37 we put opacity to 100, and we duplicate, we change target and giving to the continuously, and we also take both again and duplicate, and now we put it at 42. And now let's see the live preview. So this one, then this one, and then this one, then these two, and these two. Now we are finished. And at 40, actually at 50, at 50 actually we need to change to this other animation, which takes only this one and animate it. So let's see how we can do that one. So if we want it to be smooth, so first one animation should go opacity to 0. For example, let's go opacity to 0, and the other one just go from opacity 0 to 100. So let's see how we can do it. So from 50 to 51, we're gonna select this. We're gonna select this float animation 6. So actually at 50, we take, oh no, not this one. We should, yeah, we take this one. But first, let's take the opacity. Opacity here is 0, and until 51, the opacity goes to 100. It just come to the play. And after that, at 50, the animation is going to start. The animation, no, not 5. We should select the Lottie animation 6. So at 50, we get opacity of 0, and exactly at 51, opacity is going to be 100, and also at 50, this Lottie is going to start from frame 0, and at 100, the Lottie is almost going to be at 100, which is 100. And now if we go and play it, let's see how it looks in live preview. So here at 50, then at 50 it goes down, and the other animation goes from opacity off. Between 50 and 51, you see, it just goes very smooth opacity. And then all the way back to 100. And at some point, we should animate that paragraph, which is the paragraph. Oh, actually, we haven't put this paragraph here, this one. So let's put this paragraph first and then we can animate that paragraph. So let's put these two animations opacity back to 0. And we're going to have another div block. And that div block is going to be here inside the sticky container. And we call it the transparency. And doing that one, next we see here, this is actually down, so we push it down by 200 pixels. So you should, when you make your own website, you should understand, you should try an error and see how much you should push it down or up or something. So we don't need to do it now. So first what we do is we give it a width of 100% and we give it position absolute. And after giving it position absolute, then now it stays in here and does not affect the other siblings around. And then we inside it, we put the paragraph first. We take the paragraph here, we put the paragraph, and then let me write it down what it is, where I cannot copy. Okay, so let me write it down. Okay, now let's give its values. Let's give the font of 22 pixel and the height of 1.18 and the color white, and it should not be pixel. So basically, because this website was already built in, so I knew all of these values. But in fact, if you don't know which values to use, so first you make it this way, and then you see on the website, for example, this is here. So what you do is you go and select that animation, and the other animation you basically make it to be 0, and you make the other animation to be 100. And now based on that place of the animation here and position, what you do is you position your paragraph. So for example, you see the ear and you just place, okay, it should be here, and then you use percentage to see how it can be done. So you give it, for example, the width of this paragraph, we give it, for example, 50%, and then you see, okay, it's not, you're just going down and you just find it out. Okay, it's around here, and I put it 41.6, and now it's exactly the same as this one. And then you see, okay, it's in the bottom of the ear. So what you do is you just give the parent some padding, and you select the parent, and then you just going like this, like, okay, how much should I give? And you say, okay, around here is fine. And because I just did this in the last example, if I do to every single one of them, it take a lot of time. It was already built in website, and I just used the values here to explain to you how it's done without showing you how to really do to a new website if you want to copy. So this one is done. Okay, this is done. And did we give position absolute? Yes. And now all we need to do is go back to the animation and animate it. But before that, let's go this one back to 0, and the other animation, give it back to 100. And come here to the animation. And now let's see where to begin. It comes until she touches here. And the moment she tried to touch, the paragraph come to the view. And now let's find out when she really touches. So it must be around here. Yep, around here. Okay, let's see. Start here, and it finish exactly before the color becoming white. So how to achieve it? Okay, let's find out here, and that must be around here, around 65. So we go here and we like before, the same, just playing with the opacity. Not the ink, sorry, Control Z. In here, not the ink. We should select the transparency and come to around 65. Yeah, that was around 65 the moment she touched this one, around 65. Yep, so we go and take the opacity. Keyframe should be 65, opacity 0, and also at 65 we move it down 40 pixel, and when it should be finished, exactly before the color is getting white. So we go here, and the moment it's getting exactly around white, which that must be around 80. So we go to 80, and again we go the move. Okay, at 80 we move it up, which is minus 40, and the opacity is again going to be 0, but in between we give it an opacity of 100. Opacity of 100, so around at 70, because this one does not stay, you see, this one does not stay at 100, it just go from 0 to 100, 100 back to 0. So somewhere at 70 we go opacity, we select keyframe to be 70 and opacity to be 100. And now if we see it again, live preview, here it just goes like this and finish. And all the things now we do is just make the background, the moment it become white at 80, the moment it become white, we want the background to change to white. But we cannot just do exactly at 80, make the color white, otherwise it would be very fast. We just want it smooth, to fade from black to white. So at 79, before that, no, delete this one. At 79 we select the body at exactly 79 and the background color. Okay, at 79, before the color of the animation become white at 80, we set the background color to be black, and at 80, from 79 to 80, we take the background color and make it white. And now if you see, it just goes very smooth and turns to white. And also this top part, if we see the top one, you see that one is also disappeared. So for that one, what we can do is from 79, we just here at 79 we take this, and we actually need this Airpods Nav, which at 79 the opacity is at 100. Not at keyframe. At keyframe 79 the opacity is 100, and at 80 the opacity is going to be 0, which that just disappear. And I think now we are almost done. So it goes like this one, and then it goes here, and everything become white. So the only thing that is left is this fading out. So how we can do that? So we just let's put another div here, in this ink container. We put another div and we give it width of 100% and also 100 viewport height, and we give it position absolute, and now it's here. Okay, and we give the name as white overlay, and the background color we give it to white, and it should be actually inside this sticky container. We put it inside this sticky container here, and okay, it's here. So we give it opacity at the beginning, we give it an opacity of 0, and inside the animation at the end we from 81, so around 81 we select white overlay, and from 81 the opacity. So we just see from where it just begins, like for example the moment she is touching and moving. So we just find it out where you want. So we go opacity from 0, and exactly at here opacity is going to be 100. So let's see now. The only problem we see is here, this one. So let's see if I can fix that one. So for that, just put the white overlay, put this white overlay inside the ink container, and at the same time position absolute and give it 100% width and 100% height. With 100% height means that it's the same height as its parent. So now we are absolutely done. Everything is finished, and now we can delete this div. And now let's see what we have done. Okay, all of these are working. And then the other animation come, then changes to this animation, then these three, and then this one, and then the other animation, then this animation. Oh, but this one here. Oh, this one must be bold, which we select sticky container, transparency, paragraph. This one should be bold. Okay, and now it's finished. Okay, thank you so much for watching, and if you want more this kind of tutorial, just subscribe and comment. Bye bye, see you very soon.